Hello, my friends. Katie Day with the Moving to Texas team down here in Houston, Texas, here with another episode of the Real Advice podcast. I'm excited to welcome this week's guest. I was fortunate to actually work with her a few years ago. One of our buyer clients needed to sell their home in Vancouver, and she and her team took absolutely great care of them and made sure that the property showed amazingly, got their property sold so that they could come to Texas, and was just really impressed with the entire process. And the clients were really impressed with the entire process. And as we know, that's what really matters. So please join me in welcoming Donna Roberts.
Hi there. Thank you very much for the intro and the great intro and for actually having me on. I appreciate it. Yeah, and you did the same. The clients were just loving you tremendously. And so they trusted your judgment when you told them you'd find an agent in the Vancouver, Washington area that would take care of them. And so it was a beautiful transaction. So we love those.
Yeah, no, it's always difficult, when a client needs to sell and then buy, especially if it's in different states, and y'all got them closed and got them their money and down here, and it went smooth. So very much appreciated there. So I've known who you are for a while, and obviously, we did a little bit of work together as well, but don't know obviously like your full backstory. So how'd you get into real estate?
I got into real estate in 2005. I know it sounds like I'm an old timer here. 2005, I got into real estate. I got my Oregon license first and my Washington license second. And where we're located is right here. I have an office in Camas, Washington, but we're literally across the bridge from Portland, Oregon. So we're one of those metropolitan areas where you have to be able to help people on both sides. We have a lot of people moving out of Oregon because of some of the political things that are going on, some of the things that are going on in the town. We have a lot of people moving out of the Portland metro area, actually like more than 50% just coming across the river to Washington state because there's no state sales tax. So income tax, I'm sorry.
I was like, sales tax.
No. There's
Income
no
tax.
income tax.
Yeah.
No state income tax. So basically, in everything I sell in Oregon, I pay another 10% tax to the state of Oregon, but in Washington, I just pay my federal tax and we're good.
Yeah.
So I'm happy with that. So I got in, I didn't know I was going to get into real estate. Went through a divorce I didn't know I was going to go through 20 years ago.
Isn't that normally how divorces come though?
It was a little surprising. So
Yeah.
ended up with I had some small kids and I worked for the school district so I could be off teaching English as a second language, speak a little Spanish, and I wanted to be able to be home when my kids were home. They were little. And so I did that for a couple of years. But I mean, gosh, when I was in my 20s, I took real estate classes in California just because I wanted to understand the process before we bought a house because I loved it and I had a passion for it.
Yeah.
And then after selling, after working for the school district a couple of years, I realized, and my kids got a little older, I realized that wasn't my passion, and it wasn't providing me the the income that I wanted for the future. And so I did one of those things where I worked real estate and a part-time job for the first year because being in commission is a little bit scary when you first start, especially as a single mom.
Yeah.
And I ended up starting off in real estate with a local company here and was there 12 years, and then another year, another business, 3 years, another luxury brand, and then moved over to the brokerage I'm with now here at EXP a year ago.
Yeah. Congratulations on a year. That's awesome.
Thank you.
No, that's really cool. And I think that that shows a lot of your grit and tenacity, because a lot of people would, just continue down the path that they were on, but like to be like, no, I know that this is the right path for me. Clearly it's paid off, but I know it's the right path, and be willing to take a part-time job to supplement, in the meantime, that most people wouldn't be willing to do that. So kudos to you there. What would be something that, if someone was just starting out today, or if someone was making that jump today, what would be a piece of advice that you would give them, as far as, to help them out while they're first starting?
Well, it's interesting. You and I know each other from coaching the Tom Ferry Network. And I will tell you, when I first got my license, before I even sold my first property at all, I had a coach. And so I'm that person that wanted a mentor and a roadblock, and I just didn't want to learn bad habits, and I wanted to learn I'm kind of a student of the business. So I wanted to move forward. So I was using, I think, Real Estate Champions at the time. One of my friends was a
Yeah.
coach with them. And so it was easy for me to do that. And I started in coaching or have a mentor or somebody that can help you along the way. And then the second part, I think, is really being coachable and disciplined. I see so many people that want to make $100,000 a year and they want to work 2 hours a day. They want to come in at 10 o'clock and have
Yeah.
coffee and stand around the water cooler and go back and call themselves a real estate agent. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm pretty sure that if you want to make $100,000 a year, you should at least be working 40 hours a week and treat it like a
Probably.
business, right? I came from
Yeah.
corporate background. I worked cost accounting for years and financial analysis for government contracts, GTE and National Semiconductor. And I just had a corporate job. And so I really had a mentality of getting out there and figuring out what I needed to do and working long hours. And so at least I'm working long hours for me when I first get in. So
Yeah. Um, so that's I always am in awe of the people that decide that they're going to hire a coach when they first start, because I wish that I would have done that, but it took me basically, like, I hired a coach in 2018, and then but that was 2 years in, right? And like I could have definitely, I feel like, sped up the learning curve a lot more and made a lot less mistakes if I would have done it sooner. But it's clear you've always kind of been into the personal development and stuff like that. I mean, like, you took real estate classes because you wanted to buy a house. I mean, that's
right.
a
Isn't that
huge level of
funny?
dedication to personal
I know.
development and
While I'm
learning.
pursuing my bachelor's degree and working full time. Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
no. So you like to keep busy, Donna? Is that
I'm not showing you these piles that are over here. You can't
I,
see them.
but no, that's awesome. Um, so at what point did you form the team?
Great question. The team came out of necessity,
Yeah.
really. When I got into Tom Ferry coaching, I mean, I thought, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I'm making 450 a year, and I have an assistant, and I was farming out to new agents help with showings. I was
Okay.
almost like having a showing assistant model without having a formal team. And in
Okay.
the state of Washington, you cannot have a team unless you have managing broker's license, and you cannot get a managing broker's license until you've been in the business 3 years.
Yeah.
So I was in awe of the people that we both know that, like, 1 year in the business, are starting a team. I'm like, holy Toledo, how do you do that? But
Yeah.
I started with just having people help me because, as you know, I was on the cutting edge more of marketing. I was one of the early adapters with Zillow and Trulia and all of these online
Hmm.
platforms. We were doing a lot of ROI with that and nice value for that at the time.
Yeah.
And I was farming that business out. And then I went to a Tom Ferry event when I
As we
thought I
all
was
do.
as I thought I was doing okay. I thought I was doing okay making 450 a year, and then I sat there in a room and realized I was just because of the room I was sharing at the time, I was the big fish.
Yeah.
I had been the top in the office for 10 years and blah 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 blah. And I go to this, and person out of person gets up, is talking about what they're doing, their volume and their team. And so looking at how many hours there are in the day and how much business that I had, I realized I needed to make a formal switch and come up with a team that can help me so that I could have more time. But it wasn't even that. It was just that we just weren't able to service our clients the way we
Yeah.
wanted to because we had too much business coming in from marketing. So
Yeah.
that was how I started. And so I started just with, a person here and there. And honestly, it's been a giant growth. You want to talk about personal development? I did not get in this business to be a team leader, to run a business. I didn't even think about that. And I think I
Yeah.
shared with you earlier when we were talking that Donna Roberts is my old married name. And I kept when I went through my divorce and ended up going into real estate after teaching, I didn't know I was going to build a business with this name. So
Yeah.
it's, at the end of the day, I needed to figure out how we could support the clients that were in the area. And I have leaned in heavily and made a lot of mistakes. And you know, even just in the last year, you know, when COVID hit, the team I had when COVID hit and the team I have now, I only have one person.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, 3 W-2 employees are gone. 5 agents are gone. And instead, I built my team. I restructured it,
Yeah.
imploded, and restructured where we are to what we have. And even right now, I mean, the volume we did this past year, about 50 million in sales, that was really only with about 3 or 4 of us, you
Yeah.
know, because I mean, now I have 12 agents, but I have a lot of new agents that are onboarding. So I think we're going to have an amazing year this year, but we're still in that growth mode big time this year. In fact, that's our hashtag for the year that's
Growth.
our whole mantra, growth.
Yeah. No, I completely agree with you. And I think I've had that same feeling a lot being involved in like the Tom Ferry community. And, we were saying that like you get into a room and you have these conversations with people and you hear what they're doing and you're like, man, like, so like rewinding back to, your first event, like $450,000 is a great amount of money, right? Like, but then you get in a room and you talk to all these people that are grossing 7 figures, like, oh, like
Right.
it's a lot bigger world out there. And then you get into that room and then these people are, hitting, multi-million dollars of GCI and things like that. And you're like, oh wow, like the world is a lot bigger. So it's always interesting to me, to hear people's stories and to hear, their journey because yeah, there's always people out there doing things differently and bigger and growth is definitely I feel that. I feel that a lot.
And I mean, I've been doing Tom Ferry coaching. This is, I think, my seventh or eighth year. I don't know. It's somewhere in there
Yeah.
at this point. And I feel like I have been my biggest single roadblock too. I mean, I could have grown like, yeah, you talked about not getting into coaching earlier. I didn't know for sure I wanted a team, obviously. So then I get in and I'm like, okay, I'm doing a team. Then I did it, you know, maybe not the right way. You know, I was bringing
Of
people
course.
in not the right way. And even then I convinced myself it should only be a SEAL team. I'm only going to have 4 or 5 people. And then looking at if does that make sense and what I want to do. I'd like to have teams in a number of locations. So for me, I'd like to have a team in Montana, and I do have a colleague I'm working with there, and you know, a team down. And we were just looking at in the Lake Havasu area. You know,
Nice.
I
Yeah.
want to, as I move closer to building a business that we want, have some different options. So I have been the roadblock because I haven't been ready to step up and do the things or maybe hire the people that I should have. I'm trying to get on my books a little better and educate myself, but also not get caught up in analysis paralysis. You know,
Yeah.
Mark is a good friend of mine, Mark Pattison in San
Love
Diego,
him.
shout out. And he's always like, don't overthink it. Don't overthink it, Donna. Just, you know, so what does Tom say, or what does Parker Pemberton says is done is better than perfect. So,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, for sure. And Mark's another one of huge, year over year growth. So he's another fun one to watch. And I know you guys are close. So you watch him a lot as well. So if you were to start your team over, like, rewind and go back a few years and start it over, what are some key things that you're like, I definitely should have done this differently?
Great question. I prejudged people, and I know, and I think probably because my first thought was I only want to work with people that's going to fit in my small culture group. And maybe that's fine if you are going to keep it that way. But for me with the group, like I turned down I say turned down. I told him I didn't think he was a good fit for our team, a newer agent, super highly analytical dude. And like when he'd respond back, I met him for coffee, and when he'd
Yeah.
respond back to me, I'd get like a 3-page email of all of his questions. And I'm like, this guy's going to exhaust me. He's got too much
Yeah.
analysis. He's and his stuff came out as an administrator.
Yeah.
Well, he's now working on another team and he's heading up their listings and he's killing it. And now I've been talking to him, you know, now I'm like, well, maybe I should bring him over. And now he's kind of mad at me because I rejected him. So I would
Yeah.
just say to be a little more open-minded when you're building a team about, you know, part of the thing is you want it to fit, but you also have the diversity in your group. You tend to attract who you are. So the first number of years I had just divorced moms, like with the grit, divorced moms, nobody else in the background. It was do or die.
Yeah.
And people are like, you don't have any guys on your team. I know. You don't, and I'm the same thing. It's like, and our ethnicity group up here is, it's not as diverse as other areas
Yeah.
too. So I didn't, I didn't want to just look like a bunch of white women power team, right? That's about what it can. And I'm like, I gotta bring in more. So I think not to prejudge, not that I was prejudging people if they were culturally or even that disc profile looking at it. And so you never know.
Yeah, that's the disc profile is tough, and that was one of my first coaches would always coach me through disc profiles that like may not match the position, right? So like what you're saying for most team leaders, if they see someone that has, a C personality or a CS personality or more analytical personality, they're like, it's probably not going to be a great buyer's agent. So a lot like there's definitely people that I've talked to, that we've told, that we don't think they'd be a good fit for that position. But I think that like now what I've realized is as we continue to grow, like maybe they're not a fit for that position, but there could be a position that they could be a fit for, and it may not be something we have today, right? And it just being able to
Exactly.
like tactfully tell someone that. Um, but I mean, we have people apply for admin roles, like a transaction coordinator type role or things like that. That like I meet them, and within 5 minutes, I'm like, you would be a terrible transaction coordinator. Like, let's talk about being an agent, right? And the same thing with like, hey, like I don't think this would work, but like tell me more about what you like to do for fun. Do you like spreadsheets and, calendar invites, or do you like to like, I don't know what, go golfing. So, um, yeah, no,
I have a theory about high C people in administration because I love neat handwriting. I still do some, someone writes on a, but
yeah,
I've known if like somebody's handwriting, I've just found if somebody's handwriting looks crazy, they're probably not the most organized person in the world. And the people that have that really organized handwriting, I have found tend to be those people that keep things in order and the checklist people. So I like to know that someone can write note cards for me and that high C person is organized. So I wish that I wouldn't have prejudged this individual as far as him being too analytical. And so that's probably the biggest mistake, I think. And in being afraid, being afraid to move forward and take steps that you probably should have taken, like when people were worried about their first assistant. I know
yeah,
when I stepped forward, it doubled my business, right? As soon as I got an assistant. So I'm making a decision on a technology officer today for our business so that I can have someone do more systems integrations. And I'm like,
nice.
holy smokes, that's more than I want to pay, but I know I need to do it. So that's
Yeah.
probably get out of your own way.
No, it's hard to do. And that's, our first great TC was that one of those like getting out of your own way. Like my disc personality is a CD, right? So I do like paperwork and I like spreadsheets and all that, right? So I'm fine doing it, but is that the highest and best use of my time? No, it's not. So once we had that great TC, it was like my, eyes were open and I was like, okay, I'm never doing this again. Here's all the paperwork. So getting out of your own way is easier said than done, but yeah.
Well, I've had a lot of years to become this person, and some of it's good and some of it's bad. And it's the stuff that holds you back, and it's the stuff that makes you who you are, and you have to relearn some habits. That's for sure.
Totally, totally. So where does most of y'all's business come from as far as the team?
We are at this point, so in June, we became a Zillow Flex team. I've always
Okay.
been heavily involved with the online channel accounts, which we call the Zillows, the Trulias, the
Yep.
Realtor.coms. Now we're a Zillow Flex team. We also do quite a bit of volume with Veterans United,
Okay.
and then UpNest and Fast Expert and OpCity. I mean, I
Yep.
find that we have all these different channel accounts, but I got involved in real estate when the market started going south. So as a new person in real estate, 2005, I got my Oregon license, 2006, my Washington license, and then 2000, as I'm getting going, working my other job, the market went downhill in those dark days of real estate. And so I learned then I watched everyone around me who specialized in a niche, that whole niche thing.
Yeah.
And I watched these people in the niches, whether it was condos or luxury or whatever, and they only had one or two pillars of business. I watched them sink. I watched them be leveraged. I watched them have to go get other jobs and get out of the business. So I was smart enough at that point to realize I needed to have a huge, wide foundational base of, I didn't even know what pillars of business meant, but I did know that that
Yeah.
meant we needed to have business from other avenues. So now I know it's pillars. So I would
Yeah.
say we have like 14 pillars of business from, of course, the ones we do with past clients and Sphere and client appreciation events, but we're also direct mail with EDDM mailings. We get things from our website. We
Yeah.
Google pay per click. So I
Yeah.
try to make sure we're diversified. And as we've been taught, never to have one pillar be more than 25% of your business, so you don't get cut out. So I don't feel like I'm the master at any of them because we do everything, but I think that makes us all really healthy in our business.
Well, and yeah, I mean, kudos to you for 14, pillars or 14 different things. I mean, normally they say 4 to 6, right? So you're crushing it on that. And that's, I think that is true though, is that a lot of people will go all in on something. And then, if the market turns or, that partner changes their referral fees or something
Right,
happens to the point that it's
right.
like that could crush your business. The profitability could really swing if something significant changed. So I think having lots of pillars is very important. So that's awesome. Um, One thing I know or I've seen is that y'all give back a lot to the local community. I know over the holidays you were doing a fundraiser for a local charity, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, thank you. Well, part of our core values, our values are exceed, and the C in exceed is for community. So we try to give back as both financially and with our time as well,
Yeah.
and try to have organizations. I've been on the board for the organization you're probably talking about, Santa's Posse, for
Yeah.
gosh, 12 years. And so being on the board, I help them back end with their marketing and their website and setting up their PayPal and all of those things. And then, of course, we would wrap. So the community part, I think, is really critical. And I think that helps even as a pillar of your business when you're in the community and you're out there, which isn't really the reason we're doing it, but it's so nice to be able to give back. So Santa's Posse is one of the organizations that we're involved with, but we've done something, Katie, this year is that I have informally helped different nonprofits in the area over the years, but this past year, $100 out of every closing off of the team side, my side, $100 goes to a nonprofit. And so what I do is I pick the nonprofit for the year. And in this case, it was Santa's Posse was for 50% of that referral of that
Yeah.
$100 went to that. And then I would go back to the client when I was getting a review and ask them to choose which nonprofit they wanted the
Yeah.
other $50 to go to. And so then I had links to them. So we're doing Southwest Washington Humane Society, Dornbecker's Children's Hospital, Meals on Wheels.
Yeah.
We have a Christian woman's battered shelter. And so
Hmm.
the client returns back with a review for us and lets me know where they'd like the other $50. So we just spreadsheet that and then write a check to them on behalf of the team. And we may rotate out those couple nonprofits
Yeah.
or change the order, but it's been kind of a fun, very cool thing. We're also putting together a scholarship program right now at the high school so that we can have a scholarship. My daughter has special needs, and I see a need in the school district for scholarship for parents with kids in special needs. They have different things that they don't have money
Yeah.
for like there was someone in her class that wanted to go to driving school, and he wasn't going to go to college, but he really wanted to drive, and he had a vehicle available, but they couldn't afford driving school. So to know that there's a scholarship that we can help in
Yeah.
the community for something, that's kind of my heart on that.
No, that's awesome. I think um a lot of people say that, being community based and giving back is important to them, but I think it's really cool that you're also involving your clients too. It's people like to, be a part of something bigger. So I think that's really cool that you're finding ways to involve them other than just being like, "Oh, hey, we gave this money and in honor of you or, whatever, right? Like it's like,
Yeah.
hey, which
And they get
one do you
to
want us to
pick.
give to?
So
Yeah.
if they're like, well, heck, I don't, I love animals, or children's hospital. I mean, I
Yeah.
try to pick something that's a community. Like I've thought about doing Red Cross, but I guess you could do a local chapter, right? But
Yeah.
I'm trying to find the nonprofits here in the area so that I can impact our community better.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. No, that's awesome. That's really cool. Um, so going back a little bit to the team aspect. So you started the team, felt as if there are many times in which you should have maybe gotten out of your own way, right?
Mhm.
Moving forward, like looking to the future, what are some big things for you? What are some big rocks or goals that you think, are in the future for you?
We're going to double the size of our team this year,
All
and
right.
we're going to double our volume this year as well. And that I think it has to do with systemizing things. And so we're using backend Kajabi with an
Yep.
online university, and what I had spoke about earlier about trying to prejudge someone so much. I think I'm opening up and being a little more open to individuals coming over. Obviously, you want humble, hungry, smart somebody, but
Yep.
as I've been coached to do, is if they can't get through this 30-day onboarding, they don't have the grit to just get that done. Because I mean, I literally had someone on my team, 19 years old, living at home, who got through it in 5 days. Now, granted, he didn't have another job, but he was motivated, got through it in five
Yeah.
days. Mark was telling me about someone on his team, same thing, married, needed to do it. He was 18 years, he got through his in 4 days. So you can see if they have grit, if they're going to move
Yeah.
forward or not. And I'm just going to let them get weeded out in that way. If they're not able to onboard and do what's required, then they probably accountability wise wouldn't have made it anyway.
Yeah.
So that's probably, those are the big things. I want to be able to help everybody on our team, all the new people. My goal is always by year 2, when you've got 2 years worth of tax returns to turn in, I want everybody getting a house. I mean, or a duplex that they're living in or something, because that whole analogy, you cannot sell Mercedes and be driving up in a Toyota. I mean, you cannot be telling people why real estate's the best investment and not be a homeowner. That's crazy, and not take advantage of that. So it's so rewarding, like first time home buyers, to see these
Yeah.
19, 20, 22-year-olds on your team that in 2 years are getting their first house and make more money than all their friends. And
Yeah.
even if they want to complain about splits, and the fact of the matter is they're making $120,000 a year or whatever it is, and they're buying a house at 22.
Yeah.
I wish someone would have given me that opportunity, right? So
Yeah.
I just love that about this business.
Yeah. No, it's really cool the amount of opportunity. And I completely agree. I wish I would have started sooner. I wish I would have started saving sooner. I wish I would have bought, more property sooner. But like it, the
I
world is
know.
out there. So
Can't go back. So same thing. I didn't even start this business till my mid 40s, and I'm like, holy smokes. I'm trying to play catch up right now and plan, what does retirement or residual income look
yeah.
like, and investments. So but I love this business so much. I can't see retiring, but it's like, but I never thought about those things
Yeah.
before. So it's teaching the team the financial backbone so that they can, a lot of times they don't have anyone teaching them this. I mean, why in the heck would you go buy a new car when you're renting? Are you
Yeah.
kidding me?
But I want one.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah. No, I can tell that you're very passionate about that. So, I'm very excited to watch you crush your goals this year. And, if you said 50 last year, so hit, triple digit million
mm,
production. I know it'll happen, because I know when you put your mind to something, it's going to happen. So I'm really excited to watch that. And, see all of the growth, because I know that's the word for the year. But I appreciate you and your time today, and all the information that you shared. I do have one last question. It tends to stump people, so I'll let you
uh-oh.
think about it if you need to. But
Okay.
it would be, Donna, if it's your last meal on earth, what would you be eating?
That's so funny. I have thought about this before. I don't know why, but I have. I'm like you, maybe I have. I'm like, Okay, is it pepperoni pizza or is it a ribeye steak? I don't
It
know,
could be
but
both.
I
It could
know.
be both.
Okay, so there it is. I'm a pizza's my comfort food.
Okay.
I'm thinking if it's my last meal, I need a little comfort, so it might have to be pizza.
Yeah. All right.
But yeah, no, that's a funny question. Good job, Katie.
People, so
I
sometimes when I
appreciate
tell,
you. I love watching you, your growth and your energy and your commitment to fitness is inspiring. I wish it would get me to move a little bit more, but it's inspiring.
well, I appreciate that. And the commitment to fitness is really because like I like the pizza and the ribeyes and all the things, all the food. So if
I
I
know.
didn't do that, then I'd have issues. So that and it gets my energy out. My team appreciates it because I'm a little bit more even keeled. So I've got to do it for them. If people don't follow you, where could they find you online?
Online, our website's donnarobertsgroup.com, Facebook, Donna Roberts Group, and Instagram, Donna Roberts 10 personal and Donna Roberts Group for the business.
Donna Roberts Group. It's everywhere you look. I
All
love it.
there. I know.
I
I
love
didn't
it.
know. Thank you so much for your time, Katie. I appreciate being a guest, and I know you're going to have an amazing year.
I appreciate it. Looking forward to seeing you soon.
Thanks. You too. See you a bit.